Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's been a while since I've been here. It's 2020. It's good to be back. Really enjoyed these conferences at UGA. I graduated in 2008 from Medical College of Georgia, now Augusta University. I've worked at Herd Studios. I've worked at Cosmosite, now Microverse, Nucleus Medical Media. I was art director there, and then I was art director and partner at Vessel Studios, and now I have a medical animation company called Antigen Studios. We work with in the pharma space as well as the biotech. We also dabble a little bit in patient education. I'll show you a little bit of the work that we do. Within my career, I've worked anywhere between the super large agencies as well as smaller boutiques and more patient education, medical animation vendors. Throughout all of those, I've sat in on quite a bit of hiring for animators and illustrators. And there seems to be, I guess, a disconnect between what's been shown within schools for students coming out of school and for the professionals, because for a lot of the work that's done within the pharmaceutical industry, there's of NDAs as well as confidentiality agreements that are signed between the companies that are the vendor and the agencies that they're working with. So I'm going to talk today about both portfolios or demo reels for students, what companies look for with reviewing student demo reels, as well as for the professional going out into the world. Either you're been in the game for a few years, 10 years, 20 years, you know, it's a little bit different than the student. Also, we'll touch on the constraints of NDAs and ownership of the material that you have. Also, we'll talk about networking and preparing for interviews and how interviews are a two-way street. And when you go for an interview, it's for them to find out about you, but also for you to find out if it's a good fit for you and if it's the work that you want to do. So for student work, I consider the applicant's potential, you know, coming straight out of school. Their style's not fully developed, but you get like glimpses of how they handle storytelling, how they handle motion, what they think looks good. And I think that's one of those big things that throughout the career is something that I always look for is an applicant's taste. Sometimes that's something that can develop over time, and especially with professional artists, they can develop a very strong sense of style. What I'm also looking for is how they think through scientific problems, how they show a biological process, whether or not they focus on all the details and lose the big picture. Design fundamentals are huge. A lot of times when we're in school, we learn about 2D design, 3D, and animation's a different beast. Moving images and temporal storytelling is something that a skill that you should develop as you go along, especially with rough cuts and animatics, really refining that before moving to final animation. I'm going to move to what teams look for students. So we talked about taste, visual style, and problem solving. So with some studios where they're smaller, the style alignment really matters. So if you go to work at a place that, say, does like surgical animation that has like a set style that doesn't change, like they do that set style for all their animations. You go to a larger house that does pharmaceutical animation that has various styles that are sometimes dictated by an art director or by the client. Some people want to do one style and one style only. So maybe they want to go to work for a place that has that one set of style. So depending on where a student wants to go work, it could really change what they're looking for and what the team's looking for. Also looking at student work, year after year from the different schools, they have somewhat similar, consistent assignments. So you'll have like a device animation, you get like one molecular animation, maybe something veterinary. So there's going to be similar content and subject matter year to year within the student body. The standout is like, say, the thesis. I think regardless of the subject matter, what needs to stand out is clear thinking, the strong fundamentals in movement, composition, and visual communication. Something that I look for in interviews is how they respond to feedback. So I'd say one of the biggest things working with a team is providing feedback and critiquing each other. And if you see something wrong with the science, if you see something wrong with the motion, the visuals, having that rapport. And so how a student responds to feedback about their work reflects very significantly in whether or not they're able to be coached into refining the animation to get it to final. And another big one is the ability to critique their own work. When talking about their own work, students should be able to speak about where they think they could improve, or perhaps where they have not hit the mark. It can indicate the desire to improve their skills and drive them to grow as an animator. And this is also a good indicator of how heavily they will need to be directed on the fundamentals. So this is something that is also important for professionals. Think self-critique and reviewing your work, reviewing the science. and understanding if something doesn't look right, maybe I should fix it before going to review. You know, fixing something 2 days earlier is better than, day before a final deliverable or a rough cut to the client. And that typically ends up being, going to review and getting 5 lines of notes versus a full page of notes, right? For professionals, managers assume that you can be placed on a project and trusted to execute without extensive supervision. So if you're fresh out of school, there's quite a bit of hand-holding and getting up to speed that's expected. When you're a professional, you should be expected to understand how to put a storyboard together, how to splice narration with the animation, and depending on the size of the company or if you're specializing, sorry. The focus should be on demonstrating expertise within your focus. So if you're focusing on rigging, make sure you have plenty of rigging within your reel. If you're going to be someone who does lighting, make sure you focus on that. So within your reel, since many studios work within teams, make sure you document your contributions. So if you show, a set of animations within your demo reel and you only did the animation part and you didn't do the lighting or the rigging, make sure to say that that's what you did. Again here, experience and judgment and taste come into play quite a bit. So here, there's quite a bit of need for style alignment between the artist and studio. So if you're a professional looking to join a team that is looking for simulation artists, and you don't do simulation, it's probably not a great fit. A lot of these larger studios have specialized roles. If you're an art director at some of these larger companies, you might not work much in 3D. You might do a lot of direction. And as a professional, have a concise reel. I'd say under 2 minutes, definitely closer to the 1 minute mark is ideal. I know most of these studios will only look at the demo reel or the show reel of an artist and maybe click on 1 or 2 maybe of the animations. So also collaboration, teamwork comes into play when joining a team. When you're a student, typically you're working by yourself. You do a little bit of teamwork on your thesis, but essentially most of the work that you've done is on your own. When you're part of a studio, you collaborate on projects, and how well you work and communicate with other artists is a huge part of joining a team. Again here, being able to critique your own work, look at your work and see what needs to be improved, and Okay, for the demo reel or show reel for students professional, for molecular, showing an understanding of binding, blocking, and inhibition is key, and having something within your show reel that shows this kind of cause and effect. Go cellular, showing where these interactions are occurring with somewhat correct proportions. When to show detail, when to remove some of the surrounding elements. Showing a clear cause and effect, disease state, healthy state. I know in pharma, there's a lot of MOD animations that go into that. If you're doing device or anatomical within your show reel, make sure your anatomy is correct. If you're showing how device works, understand how it works, where it works, as well as when you animate it, make sure that the rigging and the motion is solid. Storyboards are great to have within your portfolio, where you show how you think sequentially, how you plan your shots, in guiding the viewer with your plan for the animation. And for me, motion graphics are pretty good to have within your reel. So that's, basic typography and layout, how things move, how things transition. In a lot of ways, it amplifies the storytelling. NDAs, what are non-disclosure agreements? This is confidential information that may include new therapeutic targets, drug mechanisms, clinical trial strategies, device designs, scientific hypotheses. Even a short animation clip can reveal critical competitive information. So there's NDAs for agencies and pharmas that you may work for. They protect the pharmaceutical company, the scientists and research teams, sometimes investors or regulatory strategy. The information in an animation can reflect years of research and large financial investment, so confidentiality is taken very seriously. And there's also NDAs for studios. Even if you animated the project, the client or studio owns the work. That means you cannot automatically show it in a portfolio. Permission is usually required. Some work may never be shareable, and some of the animation techniques are proprietary. So what can you 100% not show? Anything unreleased, not publicly available, and anything internal to the pharmaceutical company. So, looking at this list, you ask yourself, I can't show any of the work that I've done? And I'd say, since a lot of the work that we do for pharma and biotech is work for hire, the copyright is owned by those companies. Sometimes within the contracts, animation companies get the rights to include it on their site. But when you leave a company and you put together a demo reel, ask for permission. If it's publicly available, there's fair use. So I would not necessarily put it in a public-facing demo reel. I might have it behind a password-protected link. If there's animation that you worked on that's publicly available, maybe share the link to the animation directly. But even if you do send a link that has a password, make sure you say that this is, confidential, etc. Do not share outside of the review process. So one way around this is to recreate or make animation or content for your reel specifically. So if you worked on something that is proprietary, this pathway, maybe make something generic, maybe do a MOD of something similar. This is somewhere where you can show your creative and stylistic viewpoint. Reimagine the shot without the drug structure. Is there a process or topic that you find interesting or that can fill in a gap within your show reel? So this is something that I suggest that I guess if you don't have a lot that you can show, you fill in those gaps. If you're starting your own studio, all the work that you are going to show you got to own that work. So you kind of have to start fresh. I'll go back to that. So some studios, when you leave, they'll help you put together your demo reel. They'll help you with your, talk you through interview points. And sometimes that's to protect them, make sure that the clips that you're using you're able to use. But, keeping that in mind, it's good to understand general fair use and what's, generally what's available to be used. Something that throughout my career has been huge is networking. So at the AMI meeting, get to meet some of your colleagues, talk to them, introduce yourself. I've had lots of mentors throughout the years. Andrew Swift's over there, Cameron Sladen. There's the AMI mentorship that you can sign up for, and if you're a professional, help mentor some students. I'm planning to join the mentorship this fall, hopefully. LinkedIn is a great place to network, see what studios are doing, what your colleagues are doing, connect with them. And, it's a great place to, showcase your work, but also, it's a good finger on the pulse within, not just within medical animation, but also within pharma, as well as the agencies that we work with. And, send some of these companies some cold emails. Doesn't hurt. What can they do? Just, reply back, we don't have a spot open, but thank you for sending your portfolio, or thank you for contacting us, answer any questions. But, this community is amazing, and there's so many great people that you can talk to at any stage of your career, if you're a student, if you're a professional. So definitely network. So at the interview, NDAs and confidentiality still apply. You can screen share some publicly available work. Make sure you specifically state that it's owned by the studio or the company, or the pharmaceutical company, and talk about the role that you played. Interviews go both ways. Make sure the fit's right for you. If it's an in-person location, I would try to go visit. I know that, video interviews are huge now, and, all the rage since remote work is kind of the norm. But if it's in office, I would definitely go there, see if you like the town, see if you like the vibe within the workspace. What kind of work do they do? Do they do molecular work? Do they do surgical work? Do they do patient ed? Is it explainer videos? Is it 2D animation? And when you talk about your work, make sure you understand the science. Especially as a professional, a project you worked on like 6 years ago, it's like, this molecule binds to that, and this, I think this happens. It's like not a great look. Just brush up on what you've put in your reel. Be ready to speak about the science. Walk through your process, how you work. If you're a modeler, I start, basic shapes. I use primitives. I use MoGraph. And talk about some problem solving. We had, not being specific, but a project that was, short on time. So instead of doing, 3 minutes of animation, we did 3 20-second teaser clips, and then we moved to animation for the next conference or something like that. Some great supplementary materials, sketchbook, how you ideate on ideas, storyboards, medical illustrations. Even if you're planning on just doing medical animation, a lot of these studios also do illustrations using the 3D assets, and having those skills are a huge asset. Fine art, as well as video editing. Having great editing skills is something that's undervalued. I appreciate all of you for taking the time to listen. We have a few minutes left if you guys have any questions. Kelvin?
One question. Oh. Yeah, go for it.
It's not really a question. Absolutely gorgeous artwork, as everybody expected. Like, just beautiful stuff up there and all fantastic information. I wanted to add to just one thing that you said that was very important. Send your demo reels when you feel like you're proud of them, because studios will open and watch every single demo reel they get. They always will. So expect that, send it, do it. Thank you.
Thank you.